So in the last episode, I talked about how to make functions. In this one, I am going to be explaining how to use variables, the local and global variables. The first variable type I'm going to go over is a global variable. Variables can literally be assigned to anything in the game, but the exception to that is you cannot use the pre-assigned operators to set a variable. You can't use end, return, or any of these to make a variable. None of those can make a variable because they already exist in Roblox Lua and they have their own definitions. Now you can do end underscore variable. You could do that, but you can't do end or any of the other ones. Now I'm gonna call a variable is essentially a string with or without an underscore that you assign to something in the game. I'm gonna make a global variable called global variable. Now we see here it says incomplete statement expected to assign expected assignment or function call. This means, hey, it expected an equal sign. I did not give it that. Or it expected to be set to something, and we didn't give it that. Now, I'm going to set this equal to 50. And now we notice, hey, it went away because we assigned it to something. I'm actually going to print that global variable to show you that it prints 50. Alright, so now we know what 50 is. Now, what if you want to set it to a function, or what if you want to make a variable equal to something else? Well, you can actually assign variables to functions. So I'm going to call this one print variable equals print. And I'm going to do print variable 50. It prints 50 because we're calling the print, we're setting the variable equal to print, and we're doing parentheses 50, just like normal 50. That's essentially what this does right here. But it's not really setting that up there. So that now you can also assign it to an actual function. You could do function equals function. Function print stuff. Huh. Oh yeah, I already saw the function name. The function name is function variable. In that case, you don't have to actually describe what the function name is because the function name is here. Now I'm going to call the print variable and do 50. Essentially what this will do is it will assign a variable called function variable to a function that calls upon the print variable and prints out the global variable like this. And once I call function variable, it prints 50, as you can see. Now, for those who didn't understand that, let me re-explain it. So I'm making a global variable called with setting it to 50. Then I'm making a print variable and setting that to print. You can set variables to anything in Roblox, except for certain statements that will not enter correctly. But anything that is a function or property, you can set to a function or a variable. As you can see, I set a number to the variable. I set a print statement or function to a variable, and I set an actual function to a variable. and then I'm calling upon that function like I normally would without it. So just let's pretend this is print. That's essentially what I'm doing with this right here. Now, now you know how local variables work. I'm actually going to, now you know how global variables work. I'm actually going to explain how local variables work now. So, local variables are basically the same thing, but they can only be accessed inside of functions if you put them there. For instance, if I do local variable equals 5, I print 5. Or, yeah, man, I'm printing 5, alright. It's always going to be there. If I print var, it'll print var, then 5. Or if I set it equal to 5, or number 5, it'll print number 5. You can also set it equal to a string, number, anything. You can set it equal to true, like that, it'll print true, false. You can set it equal to anything. You'll notice that if I put a function here and I assign var, hey, that doesn't exist. It doesn't know what variable is. It's because it's a local variable which is inside of the function. Now if I move this outside of the function and I put it here, it knows what it is, and I can access it inside of here. But if I move it inside of the function, it won't know what it is outside of the function, if that makes sense. Now if I add another function and I print, does the same thing. Exact same thing as that other function, you'll notice print var. It doesn't know what variable is because it's just like this. It's outside of the function. Now if I make it global by removing the local, you'll notice it can see the function now. But the problem with that is if I do call the function, it won't print 5, it'll print nil because it doesn't know what it is. Because it hasn't been assigned until we call this function right here, test. So when I call test, it'll print 5 as variable. Now if we make it local, that is printing nil because it doesn't know what that is. But it is printing 5 inside of the function because the variable does exist. It's just not the variable that we're looking for. Now you can also do this inside of a function. I'm going to create a function called test run, and I'm going to assign a local variable to a function. And I'm going to put a, oh man, that was on accident. I'm going to put a local variable inside of that function and do print 5. We'll notice, hey, I put a function. I thought you said you can't print stuff inside of functions in another function. Well, you can if that function is inside of the function that has the variable in it. Now, if I move it outside, or if I move it inside, like this, inside the function, it won't know what variable is. Now, if I make that global, it still doesn't know what variable is. And it will actually say, hey, this is used inside of another function. I suggest you make it local, which is what you should do if you're doing that. It doesn't, but the reason it doesn't know what that is because it's local inside of this test function, and it still doesn't know what it is. Now I could add 100 more functions and it would still do the same exact thing as this, unless this is global, or unless this is inside of this, it won't know what it is. See how it doesn't know what it is, and it'll print nil always. Now when I remove the local and make it global, it knows what it is. If I move it inside of here, it knows what it is. And if I make it local, it still knows what it is because it's inside. Now, there's another issue with that. You can't call a variable before it's assigned or after it's assigned. Like it doesn't know what it is, even if it's global or uh, local or global. Now the reason this you can if it's global, it'll recognize it, but it won't know what it is. It'll print nil. Like if I show you, actually, let me call the function. See? It breaks because it didn't call the function. Now I need to actually call the function inside of the function by doing function test. Now that's not the line that's erroring. This knows what it is. This 100% works. It's the fact that we didn't assign this variable before the print. Now if we assign it before the print, it'll print number 5 and number 1. And it's like that for everything. Now if I make it local, it'll call the function, it'll print the first one inside of the function here, but it won't know what it is here. And it will call an error, say, hey, nil cannot be put with string because this doesn't exist and it has no idea what it is. And that's pretty much how variables work in Lua, global, and local variables. If you have any questions, message me on Discord or join the Discord server in the description. Thanks, bye.